Hey everybody, it's Kate Richburg and happy Friday. Today is Friday, August 12th, and we are up and running and ready to create this Free Tip Friday. So you may have seen on our um, newsletter this morning that we have a product dropping at noon today. And as you know, I've been making these kits, right, for the Great Bead Extravaganza, the beach class kits. So I had some left over, which I was like, well, what am I going to do with those? Well, I might as well throw them in a bag and make a mix with them. And so you saw it on the thumbnail, but I'm going to throw that up here. It Bear with me here just a second. I'm going to load that photo up. Nope, not a video. Let me try that again. There we go. Um, these are going to drop at noon Pacific time. So right now it's 10:36 Pacific. So I'm going to be on, for a little bit today, but in plenty of time for you to jump on at noon. They're not on the website yet, but at noon they're going to go live right up on the website. You'll see that. So at noon, refresh the page, right? And these will come up. So I'm calling them bead glass bunches. And it really is just a bunch of bead glass that was left over from these kits. And so there's a limited amount of them, and you can see they're not sorted by color or anything, it's just by weight. And we put them in these bags. So those will be dropping at noon today on Friday, August 12th. Um, they'll probably go pretty quickly. So if you're watching this later, and we're out of them and they don't exist anymore on the website, you can find a bunch of our great tribal and trade beads that are on beadshop.com. And of course, sign up for our newsletters because, I do a bunch of trunk shows, different things. And the African trade bead trunk show live Friday sale is always a favorite of mine. So we're going to be doing another one this fall. So of course, remember, you can sign up for that newsletter, and of course you can follow our social where we do sneak peeks of new stuff that's coming. So on Insta at beadshop.com, and if you are on Instagram, throw a hashtag or an @ our way so that we can share it in our stories. You can go and join us on the Bead Table on Facebook. Make sure that you answer all those questions there's not a lot, but there's a couple. So just make sure, answer the questions when you go over there to join, because if you don't answer the questions, your application or your request to join the group does not go through. And also, please like and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel at beadshop.com so you never miss what's coming up. So, that being said, let's get started with some tricks. I really thought that today would be kind of a very kind of traditional Free Tip Friday, where I really just kind of gather some things that have been sitting on my bench, and we're going to kind of play around with them. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek of next week. Next week, I'm on with Emily. We're going to talk about Kumihimo. And the project that I have for you for next week is a very beginner, basic project using this disc, right? The Kumihimo disc loom. And we're going to be talking about that. I'm going to show you the one that I made today, my starter from a while back that has all my mistakes in it. Because today, what I'm going to be making, these are perfect kind of pendants or pieces to hang on that Kumihimo piece. Pardon me. Emily is also going to be on with me, and she's going to be talking about the more traditional Kumihimo with the maridai, the big Japanese wooden stand that you use weights on instead of, like, this loom has little, openings here in the disc. The Maru die, you spread things out and they're weighted at the bottom, and that's what makes things stay. But there's going to be much more about that on Wednesday. So Emily's going to talk a little bit about that history, about her experience and her samples using that big beautiful Japanese wooden loom, and then, or knotting contraption, I guess. And then I'm going to show you this kind of newer way with the disc. And you could even like make your own if you had a circle of cardboard or whatever. It's actually pretty easy to do. So we're going to talk about that on Wednesday. But today we're going to take a look at some of the beads that I've got in front. And from the beach glass mixes or beach glass bunches. And I just dropped my glasses kind of far underneath here. Hang on while I grab them. There we go. Everything's okay. So I grabbed a few of the leftovers that I had, and I'm going to talk about these. I also want to harken back to a couple of our shows about glue, because you remember, pardon me, I'm going to grab some water real quick. I don't know what's with my voice, but take a look at those pretty beads and I'll be right back. Okay, much better. We're good. Um, Remember my show on glue when I did the E6000 and the Zap glue and stuff? Remember this piece that I did with the E6000? This was a tube from one of our kits, the one of my African glass necklace kits, and I glued that on the front. And then I have that one with the I Ching coin on it. And then I've got this one here that was glued together with the two stones with Zap. So this technique, I'm going to take this a little bit further. I'm going to use some of these things I glued. We just restocked, or they're almost restocked if they're not already, some of our pony beads that have these big holes. So I have a couple of them here that we can look at and play with as well. And I think that's all I've got sitting here that I want to use. Um, you could also, let me grab these guys. You may have picked these up these were part of our tribal bead flash sale that I did, these pendants here. And I just want to show you some ways about, how to kind of negotiate through this stash. And, we did that on Wednesday. We did the necklace, which I have here. Let me grab it. If you remember that, we used the beach glass kit. These guys we don't have in stock any longer. We just had them for the flash sale. But when I see my African trade bead dealer, I always like to grab a few of these pendants if he has them. So we'll have something similar in the future. So, and you may have something that'll work in your stash. So this was the necklace that I did on Wednesday, right? So let's talk about, first of all, if I were going to add something onto this piece, okay? Let me just grab one of these guys here. And I thought I had some of that leather left over. I do. I have it here. Or I could do something that contrasts, but I don't think I've got this green. I don't love it. So let's go ahead and just use the remainder of some of this that I've got left over. So one of the ways that I could do this, just to add kind of like a pendant on here, let me cut. The tray's about 14 inches, so I'm going to cut about 14 inches, a little over a foot, clip that off. And I'm going to send this cord through that pendant. And if you'll notice, right, I need something like a knot or something to pull this thread together, because if I put it around the piece now, the centerpiece would be here on the side, right, facing the side. But instead, what I'm going to do in the bead glass bunches, these recycled glass that have the large hole, I could just simply put that over the top. And then can you see how you could just bring this around like so, and it's sitting in the correct position. Now, I could just very simply come in and tie this on, making enough room to have it move around a little bit so it's not too tight on the piece, right? And it could just come down here as a pendant. It looks a little, to be honest, right here, this business right there to my eye, looks a little unfinished, doesn't look amazing. So, and we always want our pieces to look as finished and as amazing as we can get them. So let me add, I'm going to keep, I think I like the weight of that bead there, but I can add, I'm going to use some of this Irish wax linen. I think this is the walnut color. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to do just a quick decorative silk wrap with that. And then it'll kind of take up a little bit of that space and it'll look a little more intentional, like, oh, this wasn't an afterthought, right? That it actually is meant to be there. So I'm not going to do it really long because I still want this loop to be pretty big when so it moves along the necklace pretty well. So there we go, pulling that down. We have a great skill builder on the silk wrap, one of the very first techniques I learned from the bead shop way so many years ago. And it's a really easy and fun one to do. So check out that skill builder. You've seen me silk wrap many times, but see how that just little bit of silk wrapping there would work, kind of works. It's a little hard to see. Let me get a little closer. Tammy's asking, could I use a textured jump ring and a large lobster claw? And you could. I could get a large lobster claw, kind of make it a little bit smaller, and then those big jumbo lobster claws that we have, it could go around like that, and it could go on and off. That's a great design idea, Tammy. Really nice. And I think that this pendant on here looks kind of cool. So let me show you a way to make some of these beads, especially these beads that have large holes, into some pendants, because I want to show you how those are going to hang on this piece of kumihimo. Now, the kumihimo that I have here, don't look at it too closely. I'm going to talk about this on Wednesday. I'm going to talk about why it's all screwed up here and here. This was kind of my learning, my practice strip here. So no judgment, right? I'm not afraid to, throw that out there. But I've got some tips so that yours will be perfect. But this kumi braid like this is a 0.5 millimeter Chinese knotting cord. It's great for a necklace braid or a bracelet braid as well. But something like this really cries out, I think, for kind of fun pendants that you might make. So I'm going to go through my bead here, back around, And I'm going to make like kind of like a figure eight kind of a feeling to that here. I'm going to get some more Irish wax linen. This is the sage color, I think. Maybe it's not sage. Maybe it is. I think it is. It's the green. And I'm just going to do again that quick. I feel like leather and silk wrapping go together just like hand in hand. Can you see how I put that leather through the bead so it's dangling down that way? Right? And I'm just going to wrap it. And I'm going to bring it around. This doesn't have to be, again, it doesn't have to be too long. It just has to hold it nicely. So around and around. That looks about right. Now, let me go through that loop. Just the wax linen loop, not the leather loop. Pull this back down and pull it underneath that wrapping. Okay. Sorry about that, you guys. I need to move I'm going to do it again. Sorry, that was totally off camera. There we go. I'll do it again for you because we need a couple. So let me do this. Let me cut that away. I'm going to cut that extra one away and that extra one away down there. So see how I've got kind of like this little pendant that can slip right on here like that. Okay, so let me do this again. Let me put this up a little bit, move this camera down a little. Sometimes it's out of my focal range and I pull it in. Let's use something that's even a little more elongated. And let's unify these by using all the same color of leather. So something like this, let's say, let's put a pony bead. This is the regular size pony that we carry. And then let me put one in through there and one in through there. See how it looks. Yeah, this also makes like a great closure button, as Janice is saying. But this can come up. We'll figure eight that back down like so. So can you see how it's all coming together underneath here? You could always use your clip if you've kind of arranged it and you want it to kind of stay in that configuration. Let me get some Irish wax linen. Now, I'm going to start actually on this side, my wrap, because this way it will allow me to place the wrap right where I need it, right as close as I want it to be. So I'm going to bring it around and see how that first wrap that I've made, I want to make sure that everything is kind of nice and tight and sitting nicely there. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to continue to wrap. I'm going to wrap a few times, then I'll switch hands, but I need to get a little further away from that button or that bead so I can grab it. So it's just like wire wrapping. You're wrapping one on top of the other like so, right? Now I'm unclipping that there, and that kind of frees up my loop, my Irish wax linen loop. And now see this here, this pull? I'm going to pull that down, and it pulls that connection down, and underneath I put my thumb on the top so I can kind of feel it go under there, like a little mole burrowing underneath the ground. And then I'm going to pull on both of those like that. And then I'm going to clip away all this extra. So I'll clip away this and that and that and this one right there. And we'll slide that on. And can you see how adding this, just this random pony bead that I had at the bottom there, I'll get a little closer so you can see it, gives it a little bit of kind of an interesting shape to it, right? So let's do a third one. Let me go ahead and we'll just use one with this I-Ching coin. That this was from our malas that we did, that Janice did. So I just glued this I-Ching coin to this semi-precious disc using Zap glue for this one. So I want to use a recycled glass bead, so I'll do that, and I'll continue to use that green leather because again that's kind of unifying what's going on here, even though all of these parts are pretty different. So let's go to the top of the I-Ching coin, which I believe is this way. Whoops. And I think this time what I'm going to do so it really stays where I want it, I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot. So I'm going to do an overhand knot here and tighten it down so that my cord is tight and stays where I put it. Then I'll split those cords and tighten that down. So see how that's going to stay right where I want it to stay. Okay. So let's go ahead and you can see this bead has a pretty big hole there. So we're going to come around. I'm going to double this loop over, I think. And let me see if I can get 4 strands through this, which I can. So I like that. And then I'll adjust this loop that I'm making. So this is kind of twisted, so I don't want it to be twisted. So let's flatten it out. Flatten that leather out. Push that bead up and through. There we go. Like so. And then I want enough room. The silk wrap also kind of unifies that. So let's go ahead and wrap that. So we'll silk wrap this one more time. And again, I like starting at the bottom and working my way up. Let me lift this up a little bit so I've got a little more room to work with. And we're going to wrap it around. Just like so. Okay. Now I'm going to come in, go through that loop, pull that down, and tighten it up. So now this is kind of a double here. And then Then I've got these two strands down here that I'm just going to cut off. Okay, so that's it. So this just kind of sits on here. So let's put this longer one in the center. And then this can go on. So that's it. I think that little cluster of um, dangles on there, it's a great way to use these bead beach glass bunches that are left over. You can kind of mix them with things that you have in your stash, but they're kind of fun, right? Kind of fun to do. And yes, this is on this Kumihimo, and I'm going to talk to you about why this is not so pretty right there. And Emily, of course, is going to talk to you guys about some more traditional Kumihimo projects. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's really it. That's what I wanted to share. I think they're kind of cool little pendants. You could use these on a lot of different things that you have. But think about using large hold beads not just as beads to string on a piece, but to use as little dangles like this. And these recycled glass pieces, as you can see, have such large holes. They work out really, really well on there. So that is that. I'll raise this up so you guys can see it. So let me get back to my front facing camera. The leather that I used here, this was 1 millimeter, but you could use whatever it is that works for you. But I used the 1 millimeter, and then I just used the remnants of the Irish wax linen that I had. But you could also use, I put some out, but I didn't use it. The Chinese knotting cord you could use as well. So whatever cord works and whatever cord fits through those holes in those beads will work out nicely. I also wanted to acknowledge it's really close to August 14th. Today is Friday, August 12th for me and for you, right? For all of us. But the 14th of August, I will be celebrating 30, there we go, 30 years in the business. Whoops, I don't know why my camera came up there. It was August 14th of 1992 that I first started working for Janice at our location in Palo Alto. So 30 years. I was 25 then, so you do the math. And it's been a really great ride. So here's to 30 more years, who knows? But I was looking at the calendar and I realized, oh my gosh, that was 30 years ago on August 14th was my hire date. So happy beading anniversary to me and to you, Janice, and to all of you out there who support us with all of your wonderful viewerships and your likes and your shares and your orders here at beadshop.com. So do not forget, my dear friends, to jump over to our social. Follow us at beadshop.com, on Facebook at The Bead Table, and of course, like and subscribe at beadshop.com on our YouTube channel. Emily is going to be doing some really fun things, some basics for our seed bead school. So you'll see that up there, some pre-recorded things that she's going to be doing. And don't forget, you can find information on all of the products that I used today right over on beadshop.com. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter for the latest discounts, giveaways, and new products. And remember, at noon right now, it is 11:05, so we've got about an hour before they drop. So you can go and shop, whatever. Don't leave these in your cart, though, and then do shopping. Shop first, get your cart ready, And then at noon, refresh the home page. You'll see these bead glass bunches. We only have a really limited supply. It's a lot of leather drop. There aren't that many of them. So if you want them, go in, put it in your cart, and then check out. Your cart does not hold any items there. So if you want it, I don't want you to miss out on it. But as I said, we will have um, some more fun of these African beads coming up in the fall. So don't worry. If you miss these, there'll be more coming out. And on Wednesday, Trudy's asking a question about the kumi. Wednesday's show will be all about the kumihimo. I'm going to show you how I start it, how I end it, how to kind of read it, do all of that kind of stuff. I'm going to be using the disc like this, and Emily's going to be talking about her experience with the big Maradai. That's what she uses to do her kumihimo braiding. So we've got a lot of tips and tricks for you, and it's just the first of many kumihimo shows as well. The someone asked about the necklace. The necklace that I did on Wednesday, that was the Sunrise kit. It is still available as of right now, and it is 1 millimeter leather that I used. So if you go to the beach glass kit, I think it's probably still on the homepage as of now. You can click over and add it, and it has a whole bunch of those beads and leather and all kinds of good stuff. Okay. So that's my story, you guys. I'm sticking to it. I will see you next Wednesday with Emily. No show next Friday because that is day one of our bead retreat. So I will we'll be checking in at least on social. The Wi-Fi up there isn't great, so I don't think we'll be able to live stream, but we'll post a lot of really fun pictures on our social media as we go. Okay, kids, thanks so much. I will see you next Wednesday with Emily for more fun with Kumihimo. Thanks so much, everybody. See you soon. Have a great weekend.